see. All right, guys. Looks like we're actually live here. You're gonna have to bear with me. This is gonna be episode one of The Other Side of the Street. Right, this is my new podcast where we're going to be taking locals in any city or country around the world where there's a high amount of digital nomads and tourists, and then the tourists and the foreigners that are calling that place home or traveling, and tackling the issues that are going on both sides. So Ray is going to be typically I will be the moderator, but today I wanted to come on with Ray and really clarify my stance as it pertains to what's going on here in Colombia with tourism, foreigners, and the locals. And in good fashion, Ray is on Colombian time and has let me know he's going to be about 5 minutes late. So we're off to a perfect start here. So I figured I would take the time for you guys to have a little bit of time to jump into this and to know what the podcast is going to be all about, right? And ultimately what it's not going to be about. The podcast isn't going to be a place like to come and argue, guys. Like, we're already doing that online, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok every single day, and that has gotten us nowhere, right? All it does is you see a lot of rhetoric and arguing and no solutions at all. So the whole point of this podcast is to bring two sides together, to bridge a gap, to open dialogue. I believe that any way that you're going to come up with any kind of solution involves communication. It starts with communication, or even just the willingness to communicate, to learn about the other side, to better understand the other side, right? To come to respect the other side and to work together to come up with solutions. And as it pertains here to Medellin and Colombia as a whole, there's plenty that we need to work on. And I believe that it's going to take both sides to come to any kind of resolution. So I actually met and found out, I didn't know who Ray was. Honestly, when I started posting a month ago, guys, I put up a post because I was frustrated that what happened with Eric Molina. The day that I put up that post, I had no intentions of it being anything more. If you look at my Instagram, prior to that, I really don't post. I run a social media marketing agency. I'm in people's accounts every single day. When I'm done with work, I really didn't have much time or desire to be in my own. So I didn't really post that much. But what happened with Eric really bothered me. And I felt that something needed to be said, so I said it. And then the response that came behind that ultimately led me to where we are today, right? Which was to continue to speak about it and to try to bring forth awareness and ultimately some type of change. So with that, looks like Ray is here. So let me go. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in, and then we'll get this thing started. Ray, you there?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You can hear me okay?
Yep, no problem. Happy birthday, by the way.
All right, thanks. Actually, it's my wife's birthday, but I will tell her. So, they're all, her and her family are all downstairs trying to still recover. So,
Mm.
you know
Let me
how it
guess,
is.
sancocho?
Yeah, you know how it is in Colombia. Yeah, when they party, they go hard. My wife's grandmother still has not. She got to my house at 9 o'clock yesterday, and she still has not went to sleep yet. Right.
Yeah, that
I
happens.
was sharing with people last night. I was like, hey, you want to know about Colombian women? How many 70-something-year-old women they get to the house at 9, so they're up before that. They prep for a party all day. They're up at 4 in the morning with the young kids. Everyone passes out, and she's cleaning my house. And the next thing
Yep.
you know, food's ready for everyone, and she's still not sleeping, man. She's into
And
today.
we'll be the last one to eat.
And she was sitting in my stairwell while everyone else has got somewhere to sit. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. And those are the things. I pay attention to those things. Obviously, she's my wife's blood, so I need to know kind of where my wife is coming from. And we'll get into some of that today, just to better understand the people here. Because even though I'm here and I'm married to a paisa, I'm very much still learning. Ultimately, that's what brought us together today, because when I first discovered you, it was
Hello?
literally from
Yeah.
somebody reaching out to me through my DMs, and it was like, hey, you made it. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, Rey Condor's talking about you right now. And I'm like, yo, who the fuck's that, right? I don't know, because I just started making content 3 days ago. I don't even know who this is. And then I went and I found your stuff, and I can appreciate what you were saying. You know, some of the stuff maybe I don't necessarily totally agree with, but I could understand it. And then I started to learn too because you started to say some things that I was like, wow, you know what? I don't even know about that.
Hmm.
So the from the position that I'm coming from right now is a limited perspective because I don't have the whole
Hmm.
picture here. So I was actually intrigued and I started to listen, and hopefully, you know, that's what comes from this podcast here is people start to listen and pay attention and not be so walled off and try to get to better know each other, right? So with that, I want to get started, and the first thing that I had is, you know, A, thanks for coming on, but B, then just share like who is Rey Condor for everyone that's going to watch this? Like, who is Rey?
Okay, well, let me explain the name. The name is Rey Condor because the symbol of Colombia, the national bird, is a condor, and the condor in Colombia is known as the king of the vultures. So Rey Condor means the king condor, and the reason why I picked it is because most Latin American countries in South America, on the western side, it is a bird that is very significant to the indigenous people, and this nation before my ancestors came, it was mostly indigenous people. Some people say people of Africa came by boats, could have happened, and I chose that name. Originally, I wanted to create a channel because I want to be like Anthony Bourdain, just travel the world, eat food, show people about culture. And like, in the last few decades, Colombia has become popular. I kind of started it and then I stopped. And then I came across a very disrespectful Korean man, Mr. J from Las Vegas, and he will say all these sorts of negative things. I was invited to a WhatsApp group. He'll say, cooking is bland, which is not. Your old guys are all the same. And when I will go online, I will see people who travel to Colombia. They will go like to the different parks and in the different big cities. And next thing you know, I started seeing like a small group of people that will show up that will be negative, not passport bros, because my channel is not an anti-passport bro channel. People think I'm an anti-passport bro type of guy. I'm not that type of guy. It's just ended up clashing with them. And so I noticed that some people tried to do things and some people had the right idea, had good intentions, but some of the information wasn't exactly correct. And I can't blame them because they don't know. So I went back on my channel, started doing traveling, and one thing led to the other. And next thing I know, you start searching on YouTube and, how to get a Colombian woman with a big butt. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And I'm getting complaints from my family, from my cousins and from friends, and what's up with these guys. So I started clashing with them, say, hey guys, don't do this and don't do that. But and that's how my channel started to grow. I want to show Colombia. I want to show people food and cultures and cities and stuff like that. Unfortunately, since I get a lot of attacks, I'm the type of person that I fight back. I don't just stay quiet, and yeah, that's how people know me. you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. And look, that's why I want to have this podcast because, man, when you start to share what you are, like right away, the similarities come out, man. Like, 4 years ago, I was married. My wife left me, and immediately I went to Mexico, right, to kind of try and find
Hmm.
myself. Where I was really running away from myself, but I told myself I was going to try to find myself, right? But
Uh huh.
I left because I said, hey, if I ever am divorced, like I work remotely, like I'll travel because it's what makes me feel the most alive, right? And when
Hmm.
I got to Cancun, I bought a couple Airbnbs. I was going to try to
Okay.
set up like a little travel thing. Like I love travel. I love to talk about it. I really like even with my son right now, one of the most important things like on the list of like maybe 5 things that I want to do with him is to travel so he could see the world and experience all the different cultures and perspectives and everything that the world has to offer because I think that you're able to navigate the world a whole lot better, right? When you see a whole lot more than the bubble that you live in. But then look, I stopped. Right, I run a social media marketing agency. I don't really post that much. And then when Eric Molina died, it really bothered me. Like I was reading a story, and it was his coworker. She said the last thing I seen from Eric was his silhouette in a shadow, just being walked off into the darkness. And just something about what she said just really kind of bothered me. And I posted just to say something, right? Like I had no intention of posting again after that. Like I just was like, hey, I feel some type of way about this. I think that we should talk about this. And then it just took off. Right. And then from there was like, you know what? Well, hey, I said we want to talk about this. We should talk about it. It's happening now. So, let's keep going. Right? The whole intent was really to bring awareness, help guys stay safe, and that's really like my message right now, right? Is really just around safety when you travel because for me, traveling is so important. I want everyone to be able to do it. And at the top of the list, when you do it, right? Like when I talk to some of my friends back home, when they don't go to other countries, it's always that, and it's not just Colombia, it's anywhere. The first thing that keeps them from going anywhere is they just don't feel safe, right? So that's what I'm trying to tackle. So, but moving forward is, Colombia, both sides are going to see this. There's going to be
Mhm.
Colombians that watch this, and there's going to be Americans and people across the world that hopefully are going to get to see this. By the time that we finish this podcast, what is the one thing, if there was just one thing that someone could walk away from with this podcast, what do you hope that is?
I just want people to learn. I said, look, guys, it's not really that hard. Oh, I just want to say hi to my friend Gabriel Traveler in your comment section. It's really not that hard, guys. Everybody's welcome to come. Just come by, learn how to behave, follow the rules, and that's it. It's not that hard. Nobody's out there. We're not out there trying to get rid of foreigners, and it's not like making it seem it's like it was a huge war. No, it's like there's some people who are travelers, small group, are misbehaving, disrespectful. They're not following the laws. Some of them are actually hurting people, and we don't want them. And that's it. That is it's not that hard. Come to Colombia, enjoy your time, be respectful, and everything will be all right. That's all you got to do.
Yeah,
You know, I want everybody to come. I want you to enjoy. There's lots of things to do, lots of things to learn. You know.
absolutely. Absolutely. All right, well, good. I mean, I figured we'd probably end up segueing right into what the first topic's going to be. But before we get in, I want to touch on. I want to start here because I'm a marketer, so I'm always a data guy. I just look at numbers
Uh huh.
because they typically tell a story. What the numbers that I pulled in 2025, right? Colombia generated 21.6 billion dollars. Okay, now they don't have like a city by city comparison in terms of like what each city brought in, but they
Hmm.
have like the total visitors per city and then like the average kind of spend, right? So Medellin is going to fall, and I'm going to talk a lot of Medellin, obviously, because this is where I'm at, this is where I'm living. Obviously, this is where a lot of stuff's happening, right? Medellin
Hmm.
accounted for somewhere between 1.5 and 2 billion dollars in tourism last year, right? So
Uh
I
huh.
want to start there in terms of, and look, you kind of just brought it up, but just to ask the question, right? It is tourism, right, good for Colombia?
Yeah, I mean, tourism is good for Colombia, and as all tourism in every country, you have your good tourists and your bad tourists. But yeah, it is generally good. I see it as a good thing.
Okay. All right. So then, yeah, let's jump in then. So, and look, you already brought it up, so I'm just gonna start there, right? So, men out there, right, say that like you dislike passport bros, right? Is that true, right? And why do you think that guys feel that way?
No, but the thing is that look, there's different types of passport bros because I come with all sorts of people that come at me. Some of them say, "Hey, I'm a passport bro, but I'm actually looking for love. I just want to find something meaningful." And there's the passport bros who only go for S tourism. You know what we're talking about. So what I don't like is not the passport bros themselves, is certain behaviors which are very disrespectful. I mentioned in my videos, for example, when I went to Cartagena because my ex-girlfriend is from there for 5 years, almost married. There's been instances where you're walking down the street with your kids and your family and your aunts and your uncles, and you look up and hey, guess what? There's a foreigner having intercourse with a woman on the balcony. We don't want the children to see that. There's nuns walking around because a lot of churches nearby. That's the stuff we don't like. And people will get angry at me and say, hey, you're hating on us and you're being some. I get even accused of racism. It's not about that. It's like learn how to control that. Do it in private. Adult stuff is in private. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. And look, man, I don't disagree because here's the deal. When my wife left me 4 years ago, I had never, I mean, I had been to strip clubs, but I really didn't go to strip clubs at all. I couldn't tell you last time I went. I had never hired an escort in my life. And I actually used to judge my friends that did, like, y'all are gross, man. Like it's weird. Right. And then I found myself in Mexico really hurting, depressed, right? And it was just everywhere, right? And I did it, you know what I mean? And then I did it for a while. Like that was a season of my life. Like I just couldn't open up to women. I wanted to hang out with them, and it just worked for me. I never felt that great about it, but I did it, and I did it for a few years. But I never posted about it, man. Like I never like,
Yeah.
it was never like this thing to brag about. So I get it. And it confuses even me at times. We're like, why do guys want to be so open about it, especially when we're traveling? Because here's the deal: inside the United States, right? When guys are doing this, because look, when I was doing it and I go back to the United States, it didn't all of a sudden stop. Like I was there,
Hmm.
like no one's broadcasting it there. So and this is a question that I have to ask some of those guys is like, why do we feel the sense, right, that when we come here that we want to broadcast it when we were back at home we would never do that, you know?
Exactly. And if I can add something, for example, and this is pre-Paso Bros, like before they started becoming popular, obviously these guys, they will go to like Buenaventura, which is in the Pacific coast. You see him walking down by the beach area, filming women, and you know these are street women who work the street, and you see the women like this, covering their faces. And I got so angry because they said you're not supposed to film them. Some of these women, they have this as is a form of income, but their families don't know. You know, there's a certain set of rules that you don't do that. You don't go around publicizing those type of things. Like I said, I'm not hating people who engage in that. That's not me. That's not my business. But when you're starting to put other people into trouble into certain situations, then I'm going to get angry because that's just not something that you do. And it's just not when it comes to working women. I always see these travelers. They will say, so how you doing? How's everything? And they'll put the camera in the person's face without asking for their permission. You know, that's you don't do things like that. And then people start feeling a certain way. And I'm trying to watch out for the foreigner because Colombians are very polite. But you because you have a Colombian wife, girlfriend, and you have a child, you know that we're polite to a certain point. But once we blow up, we blow up, and I don't want people to get hurt. You know.
Yeah, no, I know. Trust me, I know the polite and to your anger. I live with a paisa, so I know how fast people change.
So you,
So,
uh-huh.
yeah, hell, my 3-year-old son has already got it ingrained to him, and he's freaking 3. So here's the deal. And actually, you brought it up real quick, but I want to touch on it too. And just so people could, because I want people when they leave this too, like I want to better know Ray, and I want other people to really know who you are too as well. So remove passport bros from the equation, okay, and
Uh-huh.
just take them out of it for a minute. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on prostitution in Colombia?
Put it this way, I'm neutral. I'm neither for nor against it. I am neither for nor against it. If you want my opinion about the people who serve in that type of industry, because they're not just women, they're men and transgender as well. I support that they have that is legal. I support the fact that they have protections. Like I said it before, if somebody decides not to pay for the services, they can go to the cops. If a person hits them, they can go to the cops because without these protections from the government, how much more abuse will people get away with? And I have seen plenty of things that happen both with local men, because we have to be honest that even local Colombians do abuses as well, and also with foreigners. So my opinion is this. I like the fact that it's regulated. I believe that there needs to be more regulation like they do in Amsterdam and Germany. I believe that there needs to be a better way to handle this so both sides, you know, both the public and the people who engage in that can come away happy. All I'm about is treating people with decency, making sure that people are not abused, and that's all that is for it. So I'm neither nor for nor against. It's like the wall behind me. I wasn't thinking about it 2 minutes ago. I won't think about it 2 minutes later.
Yeah, no,
That's about it.
I hear you. Now let's bring the passport bros back into it, right? So
Hmm.
does your thinking or beliefs or feelings change about it at all? Like, should they be able to, if you're neutral and everyone, and, people can engage in it, and you just want it to be done a certain way, or do you have a problem with guys that are visiting here engaging in it?
No, that's not the problem. The issue has never been people engaging in it, and even women, because I've heard women who come down looking for that. The problem is when you start becoming abusive. Like, for example, the story about 2.5 years ago, 4 men, older men, contracted a woman. They all agreed a certain price. After she gave them services one after the other, she said, "Hey, it's $100 for all of you." And they didn't want to pay her. She didn't want to leave. They slapped the phone out of her hands. They got into physical altercation, threw her outside, almost threw her down the stairs. They couldn't come up with $25 each. People are coming out because it's a residential area, but looking what's going on, and they see these men stand towering over this woman, and then she has bruises all over herself, and the people are ready to go and give the stick therapy or paloterapia, or the community massage, and then next thing you know, they pay the cops off and they run away to back to the United States. That's what we're mad at. We want everything to be fair. That's all. That's all that matters. So for them coming, none of my business. I don't need to know. I don't care. That's the whole point. I really, really don't care. Colombians don't care. We don't care. It's just be private about it. Just be respectful about it. Do things properly, and that's it. And if you have an issue, call the cops. That's it. That's what you gotta do. Call the cops. Hey, we agreed on this, and this happened, and everything. and everything will be all fine. Everybody, as long as you're quiet, you're respectful, everybody's happy. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that you're kind of answering what was going to be my next question, which is say, hey, if prostitution is going to remain legal and tourists are going to continue to come into Colombia, men are going to pay for sex, right?
Hmm.
How can men and what should men be doing to where that their behaviors would be acceptable in the eyes of the locals?
Number one, don't be public about it. Don't go around showing all these women off and everything else. Stop putting it on the internet for everybody to see. Keep it private. It's just like here anywhere else. And imagine if you're in a relationship, take that whole prostitution outside. If you're in a relationship, do you need to show what you and your girlfriend are doing when you're kissing, you're hugging, and her lap dancing on you and everything else? No, keep it private to yourself. We don't need to see that because Colombia has other types of tourism. I have seen people in Tayrona Park, which is an ancient city similar to Machu Picchu in Peru, and they go there. So there's lots of things to do. You need to just keep it private, and that's it. Number one, don't make a big stink about it. Number two, don't publicize it so much everywhere. Three, look around when you're doing certain things because the mentality has always been this: if you're gonna do things, do it where people don't see. Stay away from the kids. Stay away from the churches and everything else. And if I can give you a good example, I have a friend of mine. He's Samoan. I took him to Cartagena. Right? He was hungry and say, "Hey, let's go get a burger." I had a friend who works in the by the walled city. We went to buy a burger place. So we're sitting down in the restaurant right behind the walled city, and guess what happens? Two foreigners, I'm not going to call them passport bros, two foreigners come by with two women each. So that's four women. They sit outside, I'm sitting inside. They have the women twerking at 12:30 at daytime. I look up, and the owner who's serving us and asking us what we want, he's very angry. And he says, "Who the heck do these foreigners think they are?" And I look up and say, "What's going on?" He said, "Look outside." I look outside. I see these women twerking, which they're at fault themselves, but they're even more at fault than men because they're the ones paying them for it. They're twerking and everything else in these string bikinis. And you look around, and you see women walking around, you see nuns walking around, you see old folks walking around, and that's absolutely disrespectful and embarrassing. If I at that time I didn't say anything, but like I know people who will get up and say something, and it will not be nice, you know.
Yeah, no, I look, and I mean, some of these things are just are common sense. Like as an
Exactly.
adult, like it's like I don't think we should have to talk about it, but obviously we are, right? I find myself talking about some of the same things over and over and over, hoping that maybe this time will be the one that gets through to the guy that needs to hear it the most, you know? So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, what you're asking for is look. For me, you always got to put yourself in your own hometown. Like just saying, hey, if I'm in my hometown, the place I
Hmm.
grew up at, place I'm very proud of, would this behavior be acceptable to me? And if not, like what would I do about it, right? And I'm like you, man. I'm very outspoken. Like I'm a fighter in nature, right? Like I'm
Hmm.
not gonna just let if I see something bother me, I'm gonna say. I mean, hell, that's how ultimately how. If I see something bother me, I'm gonna say something about it, you know. And yeah, guys with four girls twerking at a restaurant is really stupid behavior, just in general, man. Like
Hmm.
and I think if I'm being completely honest, that there has to be more voices on our side, right, to tourists, Americans, gringos, whatever it may be, that are calling out some of this behavior because at the end of the day, it makes all of us look bad. Right, we all get
Exactly.
grouped into it. People make generalized statements because what the negative is what always stands out, man. So here's my next thing: is do you think if Colombia was to better regulate prostitution in high tourism areas, that we would start to see some of the crime and things that are going on in those cities go down?
In a way, yes. It really depends. It's really hard to say because there's just so much layers behind it. But in a way, it can. I responded to some guy on my TikTok today, and he was making a comment. Is this? He's saying that I'm not sure if this is verifiable, but he says that Medellin is making a law that you cannot solicit the women on the streets, and they have to go in the clubs. He's like, man, you can't go in the clubs. They're gonna, they're gonna raise the prices. They say, okay, well, number one is so you don't do it in public, and number two, when you're inside the clubs, the establishment has better protections for you, and for everybody. So I think so. I think it can. I mean, there's so many different variables that I don't know, but yeah, I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, and for me too, like I wanted to bring up too, is not just changing the laws, but there's someone else that plays a part too, the content creators, to stop promoting it in content the way, like, if there's better regulation and we get rid of some of this content that goes out that does no good for anybody, do we start to see some of the crime go down?
I need to add two things. Just like my friend Gabriel says, just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's accepted. Just because something is legal doesn't mean it's morally acceptable. And number two, you hit the nail on the head. Promotion. You see, understand that while it is legal, promotion of it in Colombia is illegal. What they cannot control is the YouTubers and the people from Germany, from Canada, who start promoting that all on the internet. You know.
Yeah. And that's something, you know, like, and the way you just said it, honestly, like, I haven't even talked about it like this. And it's really important that guys know that, yes, prostitution is legal and promoting is illegal. When we're making content online that's basically saying, come here to Colombia and pay for sex, you're actually engaging in like illegal activity itself.
Hmm.
Right. So, of course, people are going to be upset now. Moving forward. Right, like we can't move past this topic without talking about a big one that comes up, which is going to be crimes and pedophiles that keep coming
Hmm.
up. You know, there's a lot of talk that paints a picture where, like, there's just countless pedophiles coming into the country to
Hmm.
abuse minors. Right, what are your thoughts on that situation, just the whole as a whole?
Well, you have to understand that it's about economic power, because if you look at other countries in the world, where you look at like Amsterdam, Germany, where they have legalized prostitution, even less, I believe, in the parts of Nevada and Las Vegas, you don't see all these men going over there and are caught doing that. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But the problem is here is that you have greater economic power, and these people, they know they can get away with certain things because of the desperation of people. And even in countries where it is illegal, they still go there for that. Like maybe Philippines, Thailand. And because I had to do research on that, it's just about people who have greater economic leverage than the people who do not have. And some people, unfortunately, on both sides, the receivers, the one who are asking for money, they will throw away the morality in order for that to happen. So yeah, that's basically it's a form of abuse. It's economic abuse. Because I guarantee you that if you don't see them going to Germany in the droves for little kids and stuff like that. They always go to our countries where the dollar is much stronger, where the pound is stronger, and where the euro is stronger, and they can get away with certain things.
Yeah. Does being a local and thinking about it that way, that they, target a country because of their economic power, does it bother you even more on top of the fact that they're just sick people in general?
I mean, there's sick people everywhere, and I have to like be honest. And there are people within the Colombia that do that. They have also great economic power. I cannot get mad, because the thing is that no matter how much, nobody's perfect anywhere in the world. You're always gonna have good people and bad people everywhere. There's always gonna be the small minority. It just so happens that the people who come in here and that minority have that economic power. I don't get mad about it. What I try to do is I try to bring awareness. Hopefully the local people and the government can try to work something out where you try to minimize that or even stop it completely.
Yeah. Do you think that how unregulated the sex tourism, just the sex industry has been here in Medellin, has contributed to that environment and minors becoming easily accessible to people coming here?
It can, yeah, it is, because the thing is like, remember, just because something is illegal, it doesn't mean that it's morally acceptable. And uh, immoral things that happen in society usually tend to draw the wrong crowd. And you get people that are drawn to that from the criminal world. They try to capitalize on that.
Yeah, yeah. Can you touch on, because I think we both can agree that, especially in the street scene, right? There's girls out there that are probably 16 and 17 years old that have fake IDs that are out working, right? And guys are getting caught up in that. Sometimes, they don't even know, because I think if we be honest that, we could say that there's 17-year-old, even 16-year-old girls out there that could look 18 years old. Right. Can you speak on that just as a whole, being a Colombia from the Colombian side, in terms of like how girls that are that young are ending up out there, and just your thoughts on that whole side of things?
It's a whole bunch of different variables. Sometimes it's because they come from broken families. So a lot of times they come from like lower economic strata, so economic families, desperation. Some of them, they just, they get drawn into that through friends. And some people just like to make easy money. And 16, 17, Even though it is illegal, they know some of them know what they're doing, but it's still considered by the law. It is still considered something that's very illegal and immoral because the law has seen and stated it that anyone under a certain age cannot be included in that type because they don't have the right developmental mind for that, and they should in
Looks, hey, it looks like your mic cut out.
from Antioquia. I'm not from Risaralda. I'm from what is known as Valle del Cauca Valley, which is we have Cali, Palmira, Tuluá, and everything else. And I've been through a lot of towns and a lot of cities. You don't see that everywhere. You don't see it in every street corner. You don't see that. I've been through a lot of small cities and towns. If you go to Tuluá, you're not going to see like hundreds and hundreds of people like that. You think Colombia promotes it. They don't promote it. Who promotes it are the people from the outside, the foreigners who come and paint the picture. If you only hang around a certain part, and that's what you only film, you're going to think the entire country is like that. I can guarantee
Ray, it looks like your mic's cutting out.
even have the same flag were very different. And I guarantee you that in every town, in every city, you're not going to find everything like Medellin. It's just that so happens that you have a lot of foreigners there. A lot of people get, okay, I can make money. So they flock there and they congregate there. And that's why you think, oh my gosh, Colombia promotes it. And it's not like that.
Yeah. Here's a question though to actually touch on that real quick because I want to get your take on it. Is we're saying that Colombia doesn't promote it, right? And as a country as a whole, that
Hmm.
may be true. But then what do you say to the girls that are content creators in Colombia posting all the hey come see me papacito type of videos and really kind of promoting sex?
That's something that is recent. That is something recent because even though not from Medellin, I have friends in Medellin. I have been going to Medellin. I have been there. That's something that is recent because they're seeing how the Americans are doing it, and they're starting to follow that. And I think that the government has been lax on that because, like I said, promotion is actually very illegal. Now they're trying to do promotion in different ways. Hey, come here. We're going to come to this club, and we have bar girls and alcohol and everything else. But that's just something very new. The government has been lax. I can see sometime in the future them, being a little bit more stricter on that. And also the locals need to be more strict because like the thing is that I'm not for nor against. I'm not against taking away food from their mouth because I understand that they need to eat, but at the same time that we need to do that with a certain set of laws and rules.
Yeah. So, but then the girls that are posting that content are accountable in this as well. Then, just like the guys that are glorifying it too, right? So there's accountability that's got to be on both sides.
There has to be accountability on both sides, and I have
Yeah.
seen complaints from local Colombians saying, hey, there needs to be accountability because some Colombians will say, it wouldn't happen so much if there wasn't the promotion. But the problem is that who's worse off here, and who are we going to blame? The one with the economic power, who has the ability to make the people conform, or the people who conforming to it.
Yeah, I understand. Here's to circle back on what we were talking about before with the underage girls that are out there on the streets because typically they're going to be in the streets, right? Like the
Hmm.
brothels, massage parlors, stuff like that are regulated and they're taking IDs. They can keep it out of there, but the street is where they end up. Say a guy meets a girl, he even checks her ID. He's into younger
Hmm.
girls, 18, 19, but he's smart enough. He checks IDs and she has a fake ID and he gets baited into that, right? Like what do we say to a guy like that?
Don't put yourself in that position in the first place. That's the best thing that I can say. If listen, I'd like to travel too. I can guarantee you that if my family would say, "Hey, I'm going to go to Brazil," they would never, in their right mind, think, say, "Hey, this is the type of guy that he's going to be dating people that are borderline, ambiguous." Very young girls and stuff like that. Why are you putting yourself in that position in the first place? And I understand that Americans hate that type of feeling, but because it sounds like I'm victim blaming. But why are you putting yourself in that type of situation? I really don't understand. You know?
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, if you like girls, if you're into like 18 and 19-year-old girls, this is probably not the best place to come try to find them because you might end up with a 17-year-old and the law is going to be applied however it's going to be applied, no matter whether you got tricked into it or not.
Exactly. Think about it in the United States. We see situations like that in the United States also because I speak English. I grew up here also. I so as obvious that I understand the laws in the United States. Say, oh, but she didn't tell me she in the eyes of the law they're not going to care. But she told me this and she told me that. You should have known better.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say it is harsh, but that's it. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, well, whatever is going to be is what it's going to be, and you just got to know what it is, and you got to live with it. So here's the thing: do you think that there's all this talk about the pedophiles, and this is going to be the last one? We'll move on from this, and the
Uh huh.
gringos get a lot of attention for it. What's going on right now? But we both
Hmm.
know that it's happening locally too, and throughout the country. Do you
Yeah.
think that the gringos get an unfair amount of attention on this, while the other side doesn't? And I might be wrong because again, we don't see Colombia news, right? And if I do, I can't understand it anyway. So I'm not going to be totally informed here.
It does happen locally, and there's actually a fight against those type of people. And since I watch both Spanish and English news, I have seen local news. I have seen in other cities where people don't even know exist, like Tolima, which is in the southwest part of Colombia. In that province, they caught a whole bunch of guys that were trying to get girls to go in that type of world. They do capture like a network of people, and you see it on the news at times. My One of my friends in Cartagena, his sister's a labor and delivery nurse, but on her off time, because she works seasonally, she goes into the small towns and villages in the northern coast, and she does education for people who are under the age of 18, sexual health and everything else, and she teaches against that. And she works with the local governments in the northern part of Colombia, where they try to curb that situation from happening. And like I said, you have extreme poverty in Colombia in certain regions, and it's about economic power. It does happen by the locals also as well. I'm not trying to paint that we're all saints. And do I feel that foreigners get a bad rap? I don't feel that they get a bad rap in that type of sense. But the bad rap that you can say is that yeah, people do generalize, and it does happen with every country when they have a group of immigrants. To be honest, like for example, I remember with one of my good friends, and I have him on my YouTube channel. I call him the Costeño Man. He has a YouTube channel. I sat down with him and his family and say, hey, listen, you need to learn something. He said, what happened? Because I'm not from the coast. I'm from the southwest part of Colombia in the mountains. He said, the image of the single male traveler has been damaged so badly that as soon as they see you, if they see that you're single, your reputation is already damaged that bad. Even if you're a Colombian, just like us, they're gonna immediately say, hey, okay, this guy is either a sexual deviant or he's a drug addict until the chance to get to know you. Now, when you have men traveling, with their families and from Europe and everything else, then they won't get stigmatized in that. And the segmentation is only in the big tourist cities like Cartagena and Medellin. If you go to Santa Marta, I saw people there from Germany. I saw people there from Finland. I saw people there from other parts, and that stigma wasn't there because that's not a city where people go there for that type of tourism. They go to do other things. So I don't want most of the country doesn't see you guys like that. Just to let you know,
Yeah, so
they're
it's going to
aware
be
of it, but they don't see you guys like that. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's gonna be where you decide to show up, and it's unfortunate because look, 4 years ago, even though I fell into it when I left and I lost my marriage, I was just traveling because it was a way to try to get myself out of bed every day, right? If I could go somewhere
Hmm.
else, change my environment, be on the beach. I grew up on the beach, be in paradise. That maybe it could help me get through this. And I know that there's a lot of single guys that are traveling like that as well. Like they're lonely, they're hurting, and they're just they're
Hmm.
trying to escape and go seek out
Yeah.
something, and I hate the label because and look at it because it happens to me even here too right now. Like you see a single white guy or a white guy walking around by himself, and you start to hear like pedo, freaking like sex tourists. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
that's why I'm talking about the behaviors that everybody goes out and engages in impact everybody. So
But
guys gotta be mindful of it.
I can guarantee you, if you go to a city like Popayan, which is much further south, or if you go to like, let's say, Rio Hacha, which is the farthest up north that you can go, they're not going to see you like that. They're not going to say, "Oh, this guy's a pedo." It's just that because you see it so often in Medellin and the news and everything else, they have developed that mindset. Okay, that's what it is. But in other parts of the country, if you really want to like meet someone where you don't have the stigma already, you're gonna have to go to these smaller towns. You're gonna have to start branching out, which I want people to do. I want people to start branching out to other cities. Medellin is not all there is to Colombia. It's a beautiful city, but there's more out there. You know.
Yeah. Well, then let's touch on that real quick before we move on. Is outside of the places that people know, Cartagena, Santa Marta, right? Cali, Bogota, Medellin, Barranquilla. Where when you talk about the smaller towns that you want, if someone was to put two or three on the list, where would you tell them to go?
Listen, I went to Pereira, which is known as the sister city of Medellin. You could say Tuluá, which is outside, just north of Cali. You could say Popayan, uh, which is the capital of Cauca department. Not outside of it, because like outside of it, you got a lot of guerrillas and the wars going on there. You could do Villavicencio, which is outside of Bogota. You can go to the whole Cundinamarca, and most of the coffee region is very safe for a foreigner to go to. If you're a foreigner and you want to get your toes wet, go outside of that. Go to Risaralda, and the province of Risaralda. There's a lot of good cities and towns there that you can go to Armenia, even Manizales, and you will be more relatively safe than being like Cali. Cali's a little bit
Mhm.
rough. I'm from that area.
Okay. Yeah, well, actually, this leads me into my next thing, even though it's not about Cali, it's Medellin. What are your thoughts on the safety concern in Medellin as it pertains to both the locals and tourists?
Well, see, the thing is that you have to understand, Colombia's always been pretty dangerous, more dangerous than the United States. There's good areas in Medellin and there's bad areas in Medellin. The problem is that the criminal elements will always try to go where there's money. I when I go to Medellin, I feel I'm safer there than some other parts some other parts of Colombia. Like if you go to Bogota, Bogota is like it's a different animal. So it's much safer than Bogota. It's just when you go to Medellin, you have to have a different type of mindset. You have to be understand where you're located and where you're at. For example, last week I was in Medellin. Nothing happened to me. I wasn't worried, but at the same time, I was making sure, and I even stayed in Bedro, which is a little bit more dangerous than the parts of Medellin. Nothing happened to me because I don't put myself in situations. So, what do I feel in terms of crime and danger? Some people saying that it's getting worse. Other people still staying the same. It really depends on the person, the place where you're at, and your awareness. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Well, here's my next thing. So you're pretty outspoken when tourists and foreigners bring up the topic of safety and asking for better like laws and just safety measures in Medellin. And you're pretty, you have a pretty strong opinion typically about it. And where does that come from? What drives that so people know?
Okay, well, the thing is that I came from the southwest part of Colombia, which is a lot more dangerous. We had more history of bombings and stuff because of the civil war and things like that. Medellin is way, way safer. Medellin is way safer than some of the towns I've been to, like in Bogota. Bogota is a city. Certain parts of Cali are really, really rough. And but my maternal side is from a small town outside of it, where you walk around, nothing happens. And I get angry when people say, "Hey, they're complaining about crime." It's like, but bro, like you guys are one of the safest cities. You guys don't have bombings. You don't have guerrilla attacks. I mean, you kind of have one in Bello, but it's a very maintained and safe city compared to many other places. I know people that have moved from other cities to Medellin because it's a lot safer there.
Yeah.
So, and I get kind of bothered by it. Say, okay, well, you're complaining about safety, but some of us have to like dodge bullets from either insurgent soldiers, left wing guerrillas, right wing paramilitary of the government, and you guys, get to talk back at the cops. And where I came from, like you don't get a chance to talk back to the cops.
Yeah. And look, and I completely understand that. Well, I don't want to say I understand it because I never lived anywhere where people are shooting bullets at me and shit's blowing up and stuff. So I can't say I understand it. But I can put myself in those shoes to where if I was living through that and people,
Hmm.
got to go to and from and walk around the city and be fine and tourists could even show up, I'd be like, yo, I really don't
Hmm.
give a shit what you have to say. But
Hmm.
here's the other part of it though, right? Being a tourist, if I say, hey, well, this particular city just brought in $2 billion in revenue from tourism. Don't they have a responsibility to use some of that money to ensure that the city is as safe as possible for tourists?
Yeah, like part of the responsibility, they should go towards that, but at the same time, most of that, the responsibility should be to Colombia first. Some people may get mad about that, but I'm sure people have heard in the United States they have something called America First, but I do feel that if the government wants to be able to accommodate for foreigners, they should invest into that, and I feel that they do. For example, if you go to Cartagena, they have the tourist police, and they have increased the tourist police from a few like maybe 30, 40 to like 150. So I do feel that the government is actually trying to make take measures to make things more comfortable and safer for tourists and stuff like that. But there's only so much you can do when the tourists are putting themselves in situations that they cannot control.
Yeah,
You know?
no, and look, I know. Look, and I've said it multiple times, and you'll hear me say it. Accountability falls on both sides, right? Like if the city steps up its way to protect you, and then you still get on a go on a dating app and walk past four red flags and end up getting drugged and robbed, like we can't really blame the city for that. Like you just
Hmm.
ignored every single danger side, walked right into it, and now you're sitting there, butt naked in the bed with nothing left but and it's your fault, man. Like like they can protect us against other type of crime, but we can't hold the city accountable for crime that we literally just walked right into. So that it does fall on both sides.
Can I talk about the common denominator here? Is I have known people who have come to Colombia, women, groups of women, and nothing ever happens to them. Does have women scopolamine? Maybe one or two, but the vast majority are men. And Medellin is very, very it caters a lot to the foreigner. They really watch out for the foreigner. They let the foreigner get away with lots of different things that us we couldn't get. And many Colombians feel a certain way because we see how you guys get treated so well. And you may think, okay, well, the Colombian government is lax when it comes to justice. You guys get justice so quickly. Way faster than us Colombians. I know people that have been waiting for years to get something done, but if a foreigner gets robbed, like the next day they already captured the person. So how can you sit there and claim that they're not doing anything for you when they're helping the foreigner much quicker than a regular Colombian does? I can guarantee you that if you go to like Guajira province, or if you go to Cauca, or if you go to maybe like Putumayo, which is by the Colombian border, they're not going to feel the exact same way. You know, it's like some person got robbed, and it takes like months for him to get their motorcycle back. You know.
Yeah, so I think part of it is, coming from the United States, we have to separate ourselves from how law works and how police work there, and then coming into the country that we're at, and then understand kind of what it can be and what you're actually getting, and to see what the difference is. But here's my
Exactly.
question though, and ultimately this is what led me into even posting about the content. If the city is doing and they're catching criminals fast, right? Why are the people that took Eric Molina's life still not been in custody?
It's just I do not know that situation very well, only from what I've seen on TV. I can say there's a lot of different things. You know, you have to understand that uh, there's a lot of criminal elements in Medellin, and some of these criminal elements are tied to powerful organizations. I cannot say if that was or were not tied to that type of organization. It really depends on how much pressure the government is having by the tourists in the local population, and also has to do with how well these people can cover the tracks. You know, what is it related to, and everything else. For example, let's look at the situation that happened in Santa Marta. There was an Italian, I believe he was an Italian scientist. I'm going to tell you what I heard. What around town. The news says that they took him to he went there looking for fun and everything else. They took him to some place, and his body got separated into pieces. We're going to put it in that way.
Yeah.
And this happened about a good, I think, 8 months, almost to a year ago. And from what I was told by my friends is that when something like that happens and it's a high profile case, the police will put as much effort as they can on it. And just the other day, I found out that they captured like at least 15 different people related towards the case. Now, word on the street was, because I have friends from Santa Marta, is that he was looking for underage women. One guy offered him underage girls. They took him to a really bad part of town, and this bad town is so bad that even the criminals won't go to. Like even the common street thief with a scar on his face, he's too afraid to go there because they have a lot of powerful groups, it men that hang around there. And supposedly they try to extort him, take as much money as they can. The guy passed away. They separated his body into different pieces, and now the government was able to do that. But usually, if you're not a high profile case, it's going to be hard. Will they be working on that? Yeah, but they have to go through so many different leads. So why is it taking so long? I don't know. It's just so many different variables in that. Because from what I heard was he was at a party. He was partying with his friends. His coworkers had left. He went with this group of people somewhere else, and his body was found in, like, I think, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2 hours and a half away from Medellin. So
Yeah.
they have to follow up as many leads out there. And the thing is that Medellin is a conservative city. Okay, conservative in politics, and there's certain groups of people that they control that city in order to prevent, because we're in a civil war, the left ideology insurgent people from going there. But when you go outside of the city, it's a different ball game. A different group of people manage that. So it's just so much in red tape to go through that. For me to even say, give you the exact reason why.
Yeah, no, I understand it, and living here and kind of having a sense of things, I understand what could be holding it up, but for some, for many, they won't, right? Especially in the beginning, I believe the mayor actually, or someone, I don't know if it was the mayor or someone in the police department came out and said like that they kind of had a beat line on who actually did this, and it almost seemed like they were going to be able to take care of this quickly, and now here we are like months later, and just nothing has happened.
Yeah, for now, we're just gonna have to trust the process, because when it comes to high-profile cases, they were able to find things like that. I mean, look at the one scientist guy. Because from what I understand, usually cases like that, it's very hard to pin to find the right people. So you're just gonna have to see where they go, and see what the government does on that, the local government of Medellin.
Yeah, so I'll finish the safety with this. Look, I know you don't live in Medellin, but you hear everything that's going on all the time. Like you're in tune. Say you
Yep.
were the mayor of Medellin. What would be, and the city is where it's at currently, right? Not to put you in that position, right, and give you that title. What would be your top priority for improving the safety for both sides, locals and tourists in this city? Just from where we are right now, what would be the one thing that you think should be focused on to move the city forward?
That's a really hard question, because I was in Medellin like about, let me see, what's the date? I was maybe like 6 days ago. I was in Medellin 6 days ago, and the people are very content with the mayor, and they say that, he has made it safer. Obviously, they're blaming the president that things have gone down. They feel that it's a lot safer. They're really happy with him. They're happy with the things that he's doing. So it's hard for me to say, but if in my personal opinion is just have everybody come together, where people can have a voice, both from the tourists and the locals, and see what they can do to come together. It's just that it's very Medellin has a very blended past, and there's things I cannot talk about on camera. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I get
There's
it.
names I cannot name. There's things you cannot talk about, because I have talked too much before, and I have been let known by people, and from the certain people know and say, hey, you're bringing too much attention. You need to calm it down. So I can't talk about that anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I got kind of that talk before I even really started talking. So I got to know what it was before I had to have any other
Yeah.
conversations. But for people that are watching, like that stuff exists, and it is something that you want to better understand something, but there are some things that just can't be spoken about, right? Like someone
Is
sent
in
me a
person.
video that a guy put up, like on Instagram. It was like a passport pimp or something shared a update video of a guy that had been robbed here in Medellin, and he posted an update video of where things are at. And about 20 different people sent me this asking, will I post about it? Will I talk about it? And if you just go and listen to that video, that guy made multiple statements that are just cross a line that you can't cross, and I want no part of it, right? So you have to really, if you want to come here and move the best that you can in Medellin, you really need to do some research and learn as much about the city as possible before you get here. And that's not all going to be done on Google. You need to find someone that is Colombian and speak to them, because they're going to have what you really want to know and need to know and should know, right? Especially as it pertains to the safety in the city. Do
I'm,
you
I'm,
agree?
I'm go- I agree, and I'm going to add something. So, but I'm going to have to speak in code for the people who are watching. I'm going to have to speak in code, so you're going to have to listen behind the words that I'm talking about. I have been through towns, because I've driven through different parts of Colombia. There are towns where you can actually drop your wallet and nothing will happen. It will be there the next day. There are towns in Colombia where you can fall asleep on the floor drunk, and you wake up, nothing will happen the next day. Where stealing is extremely forbidden unless it's sanctioned. Hint, hint, wink, wink. These towns are not for me, and definitely not for the foreigner, especially not for the foreigner. We can drive through these towns, we can spend some time in these towns, but they cannot. We cannot linger around in those towns, because those towns are very safe, but for the people that live there. And one of the things that I can tell you is that I don't want passport bros going there, because they're going to be hitting on the girlfriend of a warlord, or some type of high profile guerrilla fighter, and and things will happen. Colombia is a country that is divided in so many different classes and everything else because we have been in a decades long civil war. And since the 50s, since the 60s, even since the 40s, and even before that. And certain places and people are protected, and certain people run certain things. And that's about as much as I can say. you know,
No, yeah, you did well. Everyone's else got to put the rest together. I get it.
Mhm.
Being married to, I'm married to, and conversations and whatnot, and just
Well,
I
can
get
I
it.
add a quick story to happen to a friend of mine? I have an older friend of mine. He's not as old as my father. My father's like early 70s. He's like, like early 60s, late 50s. Um, he likes to drive to small towns because Colombians like to go to the small towns on the weekends. And he came from an off-wealth family, and he had a bike. So they didn't have like a bike gang, but they have bike club. 20 of them just drive to the small town here because the small towns are actually much safer than the big cities. So he drives up to this very beautiful town between Pereira and Medellin. So they're all there they're eating, and they're going to go. This girl comes out in this car, and she gets off, and she looks at him and she says, "Hey, how you doing?" She talks to the guys, and they say, "Oh, she's pretty." She is. No problem. She gets in the Jeep and drives away. So they thought nothing of it. About 3 minutes later, the cops drive up. They say, "Hey, we saw you talking to this girl." He goes, "Yeah, so what about it? You see that girl? She's with the tough guy of the town." Okay. And the thing is that when the sun comes down, we cannot protect you. So we're going to have to drive you out here. So everybody freaked out. They didn't know what to do. And he said, "No, don't worry. Just finish eating," because they eat empanadas, and one of them had a couple of beers and a couple of them had sodas. Just finish what you need to do. 15 minutes, done, and that's it. So the cops had to drive him out of that town with two cop cars in the front and one cop car in the back. And the cop car in the back was actually like a special forces car with a big mounted turret. And they all the way to the town, and they went home. Nothing ever happened. So that's just I'm giving this story so people understand that there's eh, people in the background that control things. There's certain things we cannot talk about. There's certain things we cannot delve into because and that's the situation of Colombia. It would be easy one day to just say, "Hey, everybody, let's get together, let's fix things," and that's it. But no, there's just so much going on that it's been hard. We have been trying to work at this for decades already before I was born.
Yeah, I think we both could say, like, for anyone that is listening, is look that Colombia as a whole, Medellin, where you guys travel to, is working really hard on its image and identity. It wants people to be safe, right? Wants there to be law and order. That if there's things at times that you question or don't necessarily understand, there's probably some kind of extenuating circumstances that are in play that are maybe slowing things down or causing things to take longer that you could assume are there and that nobody's going to talk about, guys. So you're going
Hmm.
to have some questions, and your answer is that there are other parties that are involved in things that go on here, and you just have to accept that because A, there's nothing that you could do about it, and B, the people
Hmm.
that would want to tell you about it can't anyway. So that's just where it's
Yeah.
going to be, and I understand that, and I know you understand it, and some
Hmm.
others that will watch this that maybe live here or spent time here understand it as well. But for the guy that's just coming in a weekend at a time, they have no clue,
Yeah,
right?
they have no clue.
So, all right, well, let's move forward. Let's talk about another thing that comes up a lot. Right, every day we hear, and at least I hear, "Gringo, go home." Right? It's a big term, right? Shit, I when I put my name in someone's phone, I put Gringo Roberto, right? Like, I mean, I even call myself Gringo, but it all started from the Gringo, go home. So, foreigners, that really comes from, hey, foreigners are driving up the costs here in Medellin, right? Like, what are
Hmm.
your thoughts on that? And do you really believe that foreigners, right? I don't know if to blame is the right word, or to blame, or are the reason that the costs are going up in Medellin?
Like it's a way, it's a two-way street, and we have to look at what's going on in the world right now. I'm not sure if you know this, but the one of the places where digital nomads are going to, the number one place is like Mexico City. You see this happening in Mexico. You see this happening in other parts of the world where people are going to countries where they have great economic power, and at the same time it's good because it brings in money, but at the same time the locals are also helping drive the prices up because the people, foreigners, or not just gringos, because you have people from China and everybody else coming to Medellin, investing in the local businesses, and the local realtors and everything else, they're becoming greedy and they're driving up the prices. And because it's driving up the prices, the locals cannot compete with that. I had a friend of mine who she had to leave Medellin because to find something more economic, and the next thing you know, she went to a small town further up north in Antioquia, which is north of Medellin. And yeah, like the next day they bombarded the police office. I mean the police station with grenades and stuff like that, because we have problems going on. So in terms of that, it's kind of like both half and half. You have the people who come in there, great economic power, they're spending more money than they should, uh, and not paying attention that maybe I shouldn't be paying as much, over tipping, doing all these type of things. And at the same time, you have some locals who are getting money from that, and they're driving up the price themselves because they themselves are greedy. Like I'm from Cali, right? The people of Cali are already talking about it. Oh, if they're going to come down here, they can only come and spend their money and leave because we don't want that. I saw a girl making a joke because there was a croissant. In Cali, we call it pan cacho, which means bread with horns, right? And she goes, "Ha, you think I'm going to spend 80,000 for a pan cacho when it's over there? It's like 3,000 pesos, and stuff like that." And it's kind of hard to say, but yeah, it's by both sides, both Colombians and in the United States. A person who I would like for you to look at, I'm not sure if you heard of this Colombian guy named Andres Unearth, Andrew Unearth. He,
He's one of
I
my
think you're on
favorite
mute.
guys.
He went on that. He did a really good video explaining the way the prices are going up, and he takes like a middle of the road type of way, where he's
Hmm.
not blaming either party, but he explained the things as the way that they are. And he lives in Medellin, and he basically said it. You got people come here overspending. Same time, you get the locals who are greedy and making the prices go up, and because they know that the foreigners will pay for it. Eventually, I think it's going to die down. I think it's going to cap to a point, and they're going to put some restrictions, and it's going to start going back down. Where it will be more economically stable for the local people, in that particular way. And the gringo sentiment, yeah, I mean, I completely understand the people. I would be too, but at the same time, you would be too. And imagine if some higher power came into your city, and all of a sudden things are starting to go up, and you like a $5 burger, like well, $10 burger in the United States, $10 burger is now $50. I mean, like, hey, this is just McDonald's. And you would
Yeah,
get
no,
pretty mad.
no, I get it.
You know.
Look, Tampa, Florida is a lot different today than it was when I was a kid. So when I grew up in Tampa, Florida, which is just 3.5 hours away from Miami. I didn't
Hmm.
see Miami until I moved there. I was 29 years old. So I'd been living in Florida for 26 years. I didn't go to Miami. I come from like a lower income family, like in the United States, as it pertains to the United States, right? And the thing growing up was we could never afford really to be in Miami because in Miami, all the people from up north and everything came down there and bought. And it was like 3 times more expensive than where I'm from, right? So we went to Tampa beaches. We didn't go to Miami. So, it's not identical, like being the same, but like, yeah, there was time where I grew up in my own state where there were cities that my family really couldn't afford to go to. So I know it's a little bit different, but I can see it, right? Because I experienced it to a degree. But there's something that you said that I want to touch on because a lot of people, I think, especially like on the locals, and not just here in Colombia, but Mexico, other cities, that it gets said that I think is really important that for people to understand is yes, right. Someone like myself has greater economic power when I come into like Colombia or Mexico or whatnot. Okay, I understand that. But what I want people to understand and know though is I didn't come to Colombia to have greater economic power. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand.
Right. Like and this is not to talk about how much money I make this way. Like I can live extremely well in the United States. Right. I came here by choice. Right. Like I've always been fascinated with Latin America. I grew up in Florida around like just a lot of different people from Latin cultures.
Yeah.
Right. The first person that ever worked for me was Mexican. Like I've been around the Latin cultures a lot of my life. When the first time I moved out of the United States, I was in Mexico. Right. I came here when I chose Medellin. Right. And when I came here, I wanted to backpack and explore through South America. And Medellin put me in proximity to get home if I needed to travel back to the United States for something, right? And I'm speaking about me, right? But there's plenty of other people that are in my shoes, right? Even here in Medellin,
Uh
like
huh.
there's a large network of like entrepreneurs that do extremely well that we choose to live outside the United States for a number of different reasons, but like traveling and being other cultures is very intriguing and exciting for me. Like I feel like I live better. Like when I go back to the United States and I'm at home, like I'm a better person for being in other places. And at the same time,
Yeah.
yes, there are people that are coming here trying to make their dollar go farther. They retired, they don't have an income anymore. I get all that. But I think it's a mistake. Whenever we generalize anything, it's a mistake. So I want
Yeah.
it for people to know that, that there's a lot of people out here where we choose to be here. Not to say that's going to like you or dislike us more, but
Uh-huh.
just so you do better understand that I didn't come here to take advantage of any kind of economic position. I spend the same amount of money here or there. I just get farther here, but that isn't what actually brought me here, right? Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Mhm. No, no, I completely understand. And actually, I want to make you feel better. And this is not even lying to sugarcoat things. Us Colombians understand the difference between somebody who is genuine, who comes to Colombia as a genuine person, and versus the person who's in there to take advantage. You know, I have heard many people like when like, let's talk about the passport bros. Like I saw a girl complaining about passport bros like 2 years ago, and she goes, and I understand that these are not the type of guys. There's people who come here and they have families and they have kids and stuff like that. We understand how to come and look at people on a case by case scenario. And this is why I gave you the example. One of my friends' family sat me down. They said they'll treat you like that until they get a chance to know you. We understand that there's people who come to Colombia either as tourists or as a permanent stay, for whatever reason. Like Colombia is a great place. Better peace of mind, better work-life balance. You feel more spiritually connected to nature, to people. You just feel like you feel good, and that's a good attractive thing. And for the good people that do come like that, then yeah, there's no problem. And most people don't know that Colombia has always had people from other countries that have stayed there. Like for example, the infamous pan de bono, the cheese bread, was created by the Italians. If you go to Santander province, which is northeastern, you have people of German descent. That's why I said their dialect is different because of the German background. I have seen, stories upon stories. The town, I'm going to be honest, where I grew up in, I don't like to say where I'm from, but I'm going to say my mother's side is Palmira, which is next to Cali. My dad's from Cali. There's been people of Chinese and Japanese descent since my parents' time, Middle Eastern people from that time. It's just, but it's not like in the United States where you see it everywhere. The United States is a bigger melting pot, right? And we have always been welcoming towards foreigners. It's just that suddenly trying to fill Medellin with like 2 million different people, and then you have the news and people who are misbehaving. You're always going to have, and it happens in every country, when if a bad tourist misbehaves bad, everybody looks bad. But what I can tell you is this, and the good part is, we, on the general, most Colombians see foreigners in a good light. We see them just like any other person. We understand that. But when they say gringos go home, it's because those are the ones who are suffering at that moment. You don't see people in Cali saying gringos go home because they don't have the issue. You don't see it in Mocoa because they don't have the issue. You don't see it in Buenaventura because they don't have the issue. So it's just more of a local thing. So that's why I tell people, listen, go outside of Medellin for a little bit, travel to smaller towns, travel to other cities, and you'll see that the anti-gringo sentiment really isn't there that much. It's just
Yeah.
the certain small group of people that go in there, misbehave, act disrespectful. And that's what gives them the bad image. And even worse when they fight back, like that Chil Capo guy. I know you're saying that he got set up, but the problem is this: what happened with Chil Capo? When he got returned here, he went online and he went on Instagram, and he went on Instagram fighting with the director of Colombia immigration. You don't do that. That looks very bad. So, and to other Colombians like me who are looking at it, that makes him even look even more bad. You understand what I'm saying? It's just,
Yeah.
the thing, if he would have left graciously, it would have been a little bit different. So yeah, I want you to feel okay. Not all of us out there say like, oh, these gringos, who do they think they are coming in and stuff like that. No, that's just a small minority. We understand there's a big majority who are not like that. I mean, there's this American lady, I forgot her name. She moved to Colombia with her husband and her dog, and she's trying to have a kid. And yeah, like people absolutely love her.
Yeah.
People absolutely love her. And the biggest and most well-known foreigner, and I'm going to tell you his name is Dominic Colombia. Have you heard of him?
No, I haven't.
Ask your wife. He does all his videos in Spanish. He's a German guy. Came to Colombia like about 15 years ago. He went to the city of Bucaramanga, foreign exchange student. He went to school there. He opened up his own tourism business, and all he does is videos in Spanish. And this guy has been in Colombia in places where I haven't been to. He's been in churches, he's been in canyons, he's been in the water, and he is one of the most loved people. And he's a foreigner. And he just last week he became a Colombian citizen. You know,
Oh, actually, you know what? You
so
showed me him. You showed me him. You showed me something on
yeah,
TikTok about him. So I'm still not that familiar about him, but yeah, you did. You did send that to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if you ask all the locals, hey, do you know who Dominic Columbia? Most, some of them will know him. You know, very well cared about, and he's German guy. You know, so
Yeah.
I want you to feel okay. You know, we're not out to get you.
No, no, and
you
look,
know,
and I generally
yeah,
feel good. I mean, last night my house is full of Colombians. They're freaking all over, laid, sprawled out right now, right? Like,
yeah,
it's my
yeah.
life. I tell guys all the time, the content that I'm making, like, is to help and you guys stay safe and do some of the things. My life day to day looks very different, right? Like, I'm surrounded with Colombians. I'm integrated to Colombia, and I have a Paisa son, a Paisa wife.
hmm
But one thing too that I want to share though, for like any Colombians or just locals here in Medellin that see this, just so I could clarify my position too, is I didn't come here to take advantage like economically of the city. I actually feel a huge amount of indebtedness to this city, right?
hmm
Look what it has given me so far. Like I have a wife, I have a son, my only son, a couple
hmm
dogs, a home, like people that love me. So I run my business from here. Like my life has drastically gotten better from here. So I feel an indebtedness, a certain amount of gratitude towards the city, and that's why I speak up though too, right? Like and I know it can look like, hey, who the fuck is this guy, right? But like, I do have a son here, I have a wife here, like I'm building a life here, right? And I'm trying to get involved in the city, right? Like I'm trying to start a couple businesses here with locals to provide and to help boost the local economy here. A couple of
hmm
friends of mine, we're in the process, and this is not anything I've shared publicly yet, but I met with them last night. We're launching a sales academy for Colombian
hmm
citizens that speak English, and it's going to be completely free. We're going to put people through this academy for free and then help you get high ticket closing jobs where you can make anywhere from 8,000 to 15,000 US dollars. And we're going to volunteer to do it because we feel that we do have a responsibility to give back to the city and to the country, right? And when you talk about Andreas on Earth, this is going to be the second time I call him out. Like I'm trying to actively start a charity here to help at-risk kids learn how to speak English and then help them develop money-making skills so that we can guide them down a different path. So like me in my own life, right, am actively working
hmm
on ways how can I be of value to this country and to this
yeah.
city, right? Not to be a taker, to be an asset. And look, I can't speak on behalf of everybody. I can only ever speak for myself, right? But the guys that are helping me with this sales academy, every single one of them lives here in Medellin as well. So there
Good.
is
All right.
groups of us out there trying to be a positive light and to shed and to start to gain a different type of attention for foreigners in this country.
I mean, and like I said, you know, when you go to other cities, you'll find out that they have a different view of foreigners in other cities. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that you said before we move on from the gentrification, I think it's a big one that we before we finish, is you said it like, hey, guys come in and over tipping, overpaying, doing this. If someone comes in, because look, I've been in my shoes myself. Like I won't live in certain places. I try to behave in a certain way where I don't contribute. Like I granted, I'm not going to be able to be perfect. Like it's just difficult, right, at times. But
hmm
how does someone show up and behave in a manner where they don't really try to, not that they try, but they contribute as little as possible to those type of prices going up? What do they do?
I mean, the best thing they can do is, I mean, they can go online. Like I've seen this, I've seen many Facebook groups that people, you know, they go because I belong to a few Facebook groups with people because I like to see what foreigners think about Colombia, and these are the different type of foreigners. That hey, I'm driving from Girardot to this, or hey, I'm going to go to the small town, and you know, and they'll say, okay, don't you pay this and you pay that, or look at the local prices, ask around. You know, if a piece of bread costs 2,000, don't give me 50,000. You know, and stuff like that. I saw a video of an American guy. He went down to Ibagué, which Ibagué is is west of the Cauca Valley where I'm from, so it's kind of like in the center, middle, left. And he went and overpaid. The people came back and said, "No, no, no, sir, you overpaid." And he took back the money. He said, "Okay, sorry, thank you." And he was telling the people on the camera and say, "Hey, you know, when you go to these other cities, they're not affected like Medellin is. You know, make sure you talk to the locals first, see what the prices are, and don't overpay. That way, you're still helping the local economy by traveling there, but at the same time, you're not hurting the local economy by making the prices go up, and where people have to compete with the other foreigners."
Yeah. Let's just say that they're in Medellin. What do we do in Medellin? Because like even when you bring up the tipping, right? In the United States, a lot of us like me, I just standardly tip like 50. I mean not 50, 20%. Unless you piss me off, I do less. But like it's kind of just like ingrained into our culture. Even last night, for example, I had a mariachi band here for my wife, and then we had a second band come and play here. We had two different little bands come and play. And when the second band was here, like I didn't have that many more pesos left on me, and I started getting really stressed out, like that I needed to be able to tip them because in the United States it'd be very customary to tip those them very well. To where I started talking to my father-in-law, he's like, "Man, calm down. Like you'd be fine if you didn't. You already paid them to come and do it, right?" And for me, it's just so wired in me that I'm supposed to behave in a different way that I even us my wife and them were partying until 3 o'clock in the morning. It's loud as shit. Like at 11 o'clock, they would already have called the cops on you in the United States. I started getting like anxiety
Yeah.
and stress and shit. Fuck out, man. I'll
Yeah.
tell you. So when
Yeah.
someone's here and we already been like, what are the things that we can do, right? That we can kind of like better fit in when we're here.
All right, this is probably going to get me in trouble with the local people in Medellin, but there is no tipping in Colombia. In Colombia, tipping is only optional, and I'll tell you why. People who work maybe like even as a server in a restaurant, they get paid a full wage. Tipping is actually considered something that they went out of the way, and I know that North Americans are taught to tip because it is a different culture here and the way how people get paid and everything else, but it's not something that is necessary. I have been in other parts of the country and they don't tip. My cousin doesn't tip. My grandma doesn't tip. My mother sure doesn't tip, and everything else, unless they really really went out of the way. But if you, let's say if you want to tip, which is okay, which is a good thing, it shows that you're doing that out of the kindness of your heart and you appreciated their business. Don't give them so much, and I know I'm probably gonna have some person from Medellin find me one day and he's gonna get curse me out, but that's how Colombians are. Colombians are bad tippers when we go to other countries. I brought my cousin to Miami from Colombia, and she didn't want to tip. I said, "Hey, you got to tip." No, I'm not going to tip him. And then she just walked out, and I was so embarrassed.
But it's the opposite. How we feel one way, you feel the other, because that's just what we've been taught. And look, and I'll share about it too, because here's something that does happen in Medellin, man, to where and it's not necessarily to call people out, but it exists to where like especially when you're new here, like they'll add. Typically, they're going to add 10% onto the bill, and they're going to say it's a service fee. So then I would ask them, like, okay, so this is just the tip. And then the waiters will say to you, like, oh, no, that gets split between everybody. Like, that doesn't just go to me. And they will kind of bait you into leaving extra for them. They won't flat out say it, but they read between the lines of what I'm saying here. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not getting the tip, and I served you. Like, if you want to leave something extra, it will go to me.
Well, the people in Medellin are used to foreigners tipping, so it has kind of come as almost expected, but it's not really obligatory. It won't be the end of the world. You're not breaking some type of law, and you're not breaking any type of moral law at all either, because people get paid a full wage. They get paid a full wage. I have lots of friends in Cartagena, Medellin, and they pay for their apartment and whatnot without any tips. Now, will they be grateful? Of course, they'll be grateful. So if you want to do it. But if you don't, then make sure that understand that you're not doing anything bad. It's not immoral. You're not being disrespectful or offensive. I was in Medellin last a few days ago, and then I had went up to Bello, and they asked me, "Oh, you want to include the tip?" I said no. And they said, okay, no problem. They didn't make any faces. They weren't mad at me, I guess, because I'm a Colombian. They didn't make any faces or anything like that. Don't let people bully you into believing that you have to do that. And if you want to decide to tip, don't over tip so much. Then that's basically it.
Yeah. Okay, so we got the tipping down, but let's talk about like the apartments and the Airbnbs and renting and stuff because it could be a little bit more tricky. Like, how does someone try to navigate around that and not overpaying?
I would suggest find the local, and one of the best locals, and I think you probably do business with him or you may have interacted with him. His name is Medellin Buzz on YouTube.
Yeah.
He has a real estate agency for foreigners who wants to come in and go to Colombia. He seems like a pretty fair guy. I would say always search a local, but I would say start with him because I haven't heard anything negative about him. He seems pretty fair, and him and his crew can probably able to help you find something where you're not way overpaying because believe it or not, you guys are way overpaying than what it is. I
Yeah.
have friends who came from the United States. They got themselves a nice house in a small town somewhere. I remember I have an older friend of mine because she retired. She was paying no more than $600 a month, and she was living like very well. But then again, most people don't like the small towns. They like the big city, the hustle and bustle of Medellin. You know, they want to get the teeth done. They want to go to the club and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, here I'll share. So Medellin Buzz, I really don't know him that well. I like to believe I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I see his stuff. I actually have him on my Instagram highlighted as someone that you could reach out to if you're looking. Because even though I haven't spoke to him, I follow his content, and I do like. He seems like a pretty square guy, a solid guy. Unless I hear something different, that would change my mind. So he's there. But then the other thing I will say is this: and this is what I do is be mindful about where you stay, right? Like if
Yeah.
you go to Laureles or Poblado, like you're walking right into the overpriced areas, right? If you look in a
Hmm.
Sabaneta, even Envigado, different parts of town, right? You like even where I live, like, and I don't want to go too much into it, right? Because lately I've been getting way too much attention to even talk about where I'm at. But like I got,
Yeah.
if my house was in Poblado, I would be paying at least double what I'm paying, maybe even more,
Hmm.
right? So I purposely went out and looked for something in an area town that would work for me and that I would feel good with my family, but it's outside of where all the tourism and all that stuff is happening. And I got into a situation that was good for us. And for me, that's why even if someone says, "Hey, you paid overpaid a little bit," okay, well, you know what? I didn't pay to the degree other people are. I'm trying to do my part,
Yeah.
and for me, that's the best I could do.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and always ask around with the locals, see how much they're paying, with the locals who are really renting and everything else. But it's kind of hard. I mean, as you can see, as you understand, there's a lot of people who like to swindle and take advantage in Colombia. And since you're a foreigner, it's a lot easier. So it's always, try to ask around first, see if you can go in at it with a trusted friend, with somebody there that knows the area well.
absolutely. So last thing on gentrification, this is a big one then, like because part of what's going to contribute to that, obviously, and even I would, I guess, initially fell into this prior to actually being married to my wife and having a solid reason to stay here at this point, is digital nomads, right? And
Uh-huh.
people, we'll call them now expats that become immigrants into this
Hmm.
country, and let's even say specifically Medellin. What are your thoughts on that in terms of like just immigration and people staying here? Visa process is it good right now? Do you think they should change it? Should we be any kind of changes to how they vet who comes here? What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are is that Colombia is going through a huge change right now. We weren't ready to have like so many people that just trying to move in. We've always had like throughout the centuries, people moving in smaller groups. Like if you go to Barranquilla, you have people of Middle Eastern descent. If you go to the Southwest, you got people of African descent, Chinese descent, and things like that. I think Colombia in the next few years, they're going to have to really look at themselves how they want to manage it. Do I think it's a good thing? Yeah, because it brings new blood, new ideas, new money into the country. Any country that stays still is stale, but all of Latin America is a big melting pot, anyways. So it's just they're going through the hardships right now of new immigration coming in. And eventually will even itself out. Do I think it needs to be changed? I really don't have much of an opinion about that because my opinion, as you can see, I just want to show people food. Say, hey, eat this food, or hey, go up this mountain, or stop touching little kids. You pass silly passport bros, and stuff like that. So I really don't have a much of a opinion about that. I'm like very neutral about it.
Yeah, I understand. Say this though. Say someone gets their visa.
Hmm.
They're going to become a resident here in Medellin or in Colombia. What if you were standing right in front of that person that's hey about to call this place home? What would you say to them in terms of what you would like to see from them living here in this country?
Have fun and just be respectful. I can guarantee you that if you learn the universal language is respect, is being polite and things like that. We understand that there's some things you don't understand. We understand that we're not very strict minded to the point where if you do something bad, we're going to kill you for it. Well, thank God forbid. And we're very open minded, and we're open minded to people coming in. It's just try to learn and understand the reasons why we do certain things. Like for example, like the guy for today, I didn't yell at him on my TikTok. He said he didn't understand why it was illegal for prostitutes to exist, and all of a sudden it's illegal. And I said, no, it's not the problem. It's made illegal now for you to come. It's just they want you to be quiet about it. They want to change things and stuff like that. So when you start thinking about it and understanding, oh, okay, he doesn't want me to be public about it. Let me do this in private, and it'll be pretty much fine. You always get the few knuckleheads who are very disrespectful. But hey, that happens in every culture. There's Colombians who come to the United States or to London or Britain and they act a fool. You understand?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Actually, that leads me into the next piece that I want to cover. And some would probably say, hey, why don't we cover this in the beginning? But when we walk away from this podcast, I want really people to take with them some of what I believe you're about to share. And I'll start with this. And you were just touching on it, actually. Who are Colombians? Right? If you were to share who your people are in 2 to 3 sentences, and I know that might be asking a lot, so don't you're not bound by it. Who are the Colombian people?
Colombian people are a multi-ethnic, multinational, eclectic group of people who are have gone through a lot and are trying to find their place in after so much conflict.
Okay. And then that leads me to the next thing. And actually, I think you're kind of maybe just touched on it, so you could keep going. Why do you advocate so strongly for your people?
Oh, well, Colombians by nature, we're ultra nationalists. We're very, very ultra nationalists, extremely proud of our culture, where we come from. Now, if for the people who are watching, I want to understand this. In Colombia, this is saying you're a regionalist before you're a nationalist. Like I said, each region is like a specific culture unto itself, and each region is extremely proud of where they come from. But when a foreigner comes outside from the outside, they become a very ultra nationalist people. It's just a part. We're proud of who we are by nature, because we like to share. Who has we fight with each other. Who has the better food? Who has the better music? Who has the better language? Who's more educated? For example, the people of Medellin are known as an agrarian society. So other societies like maybe Cali or even the coast, oh, those people can't coco, those people can't dance. But the people of Medellin, since they have, in Bogota, since they have a lot of the economic power, a lot of the education, they look at the other regions as being less educated. So we're extremely proud from the get go, and we're proud amongst each other, and we're proud amongst the world. And so I'm like any Colombian, when somebody says anything, we can talk trash about Colombia, but when, as soon as a foreigner does that, oh my God, it's World War III. And think about it this way: it's mostly a Latino thing. I can fight with my brother. I can say all the wrong things that's going on with my brother, but as soon as his outsider steps in, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna let you, mess with them. It's kind of like Italians are kind of like the same way. You understand?
No, no.
They'll fight them.
I'm the oldest of three boys. Like I grew
Uh-huh.
up where I'll beat the hell out of my brothers, but almost every scar, and there's a lot of them on my face and on my body, I've been stabbed, was always fighting their battles. So it's like I could beat them up every day, but if you look at them wrong, I'll hurt you, right? So I know that. And look, and no one should take this as a surprise because in the United States, we're split up by states, right? You got the good old boys in Texas and their cowboy
Hmm.
boots. You got the slicksters up in the Northeast. You got
Hmm.
California, which as much as we like to protect each other, I probably would
Hmm.
be like you kind of hurt a California guy for a little while before I maybe step in. You know what I mean? But for the most part, like yeah, if you attack the United States as a whole, whatever it's going to be, we're going to speak up and fight. So it shouldn't
Exactly.
really that shouldn't really surprise anybody at all. You know what I mean? So, but it is good to know that hey, because I think sometimes even as American, right, even though like we have all these different states, right, and they're all very different and unique in themselves.
Mhm.
That when
Exactly.
we come to Colombia, then we just think fucking Colombia is just like all this one thing, and it's all the same. When it's the furthest thing from it. Like you still have
Hmm.
indigenous tribes and people living in the Amazon, and then you got
Hmm.
people in high rises in Medellin. It's
Exactly.
actually far more diverse than the United States.
And the funny thing is, when you're in Colombia, you could step from one city to the next. It's like stepping into a different world. It's like stepping into a totally different world. Like I said, my ex girlfriend from Cartagena, 5 years. Is like sometimes we don't understand each other. We use different words for like faucet, different words for the light bulb, and so we tend to be very extremely regionalistic. The people from the flatlands versus the people from the mountains, the people from the Amazon versus the people from the coast, and that happens a lot. So when you have throw foreigners into the mix, we tend to get very ultra nationalists. We tend to get very proud to the point where we don't even see our own faults and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what happens, and that's the reason why I'm always promoting Colombia so much.
Yeah.
It's to a fault, but I do because even my friends, because I have friends and family in Colombia, from the different regions, they see my videos and stuff like that, and they start laughing. He goes, "You can't say one bad thing about Colombia because he's gonna blow up," you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. And actually, that leads me to my
Hmm.
next thing. because this is something that I learned from you that really piqued my interest when I first came across you, and just something that I hadn't even actually thought of or considered, and I'm here living here, right? I want you
Hmm.
to, if you can, describe the last, and I know that we haven't been around this long, but you know your country, the last 60 years, what they've been like for Colombians, like the challenges, pain, victories, everything that Colombians have been through.
The thing is that we're very at war with each other, different ideologies, different cultures, and different ways of thinking. And I grew up. I was born literally during the Cold War. Grew up in the Cold War, shaped by it. But Colombia has always been in a state of civil war. It has always been one iteration or another. My great grandfather, he fled during the 40s from Medellin, actually. I don't consider myself a paisa from the Cauca Valley, but my great grandfather was a paisa, and he fled something called la violencia, which means the violence. And ideologically, it's always been a war between the liberals and the conservatives. And what happened during the 1960s was that the people who felt that the government had too much power, they fled to the countryside and they started doing guerrilla warfare. They formed these left-wing militia groups, and in response to that, the government formed right-wing militia groups, and so you have a three-way civil war going on. And because of you have a three-way civil war going on, the government has not been absolutely the best, the most stable government. And because it has not been the most stable government, other groups have come in and taking power and corruption, and that's what has affected life for us in a way. It has affected us to the point where you've seen violence, you see more theft, and more criminality going on than other countries. If you go next door to Peru used to have that problem. I'm not sure if you remember the Japanese president of Peru back in, I think, 90s or 80s. I don't remember. He just went in there. He just wiped them all out. But the thing is you can't just wipe everybody out here in Colombia because you have international laws. And so that's why Colombia is so tumultuous. It's like we're a soup of different ingredients, all fighting to be supreme over each other. And that's the reason how, growing up, and as I grew up, I seen these things, and I was taught to speak a certain way, talk a certain way. Next thing you know, I'm in Bogota, and the people from Bogota are saying, "Oh, you guys are nothing." And then I go to the coast, and then that's always been the issue. We've always been in conflict, but we're a joyful people. Out of that suffering and out of all that tumultuous relationship that we've been having, we learn how to have fun. We learn how to live life to the fullest, no matter what happens. Whether we're sick, whether we're rich, whether somebody had passed away, whether we're full, whether we're hungry, we're always living life to the fullest from the Amazon. Because I actually follow a few content creators from the Amazon. Well, with the Amazon means the mountains, and everybody's pretty much the same, happy and joyful and stuff like that. We need to get our stuff together, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and why is it important? Do you think it's important that someone before they come visit Colombia? Because look, honestly, I'm gonna say that it's important, and I found out late, right? But and I think that's what has led to the question that I have right now is, why do you think it's important that someone knows to all this before they ever even step foot into Colombia?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that not everybody has. You don't need to have a whole history lesson before coming to Colombia, but just take a step back and understand a little bit of the history before coming in, because people come and say and do hurtful things that they do not understand. You know, and a lot of people have perished on both sides, on all three sides actually, and it's important for people to understand that not everybody's the same. I get offended if somebody compares me to Bogota, like the infamous Korean Mr. J from Los Angeles. All he does is he hangs out in North Bogota where the rich people are at, and he goes, all you guys are all the same. As Colombians, we poke fun of Bogota because they don't know how to cook. I'm sorry to say this. They don't put salt, they don't put seasoning. And I come from an area of deep African heritage with seasonings and seafood and everything else. And you go, you guys are all the same. I got offended because of that. So when a person comes in, don't assume that we're all the same. But at the same time, it is my part to understand that not every foreigner who comes to Colombia is educated on Colombia, because how many foreigners come to the United States and don't even know who Martin Luther King is?
Yeah. Yeah. And look, and that goes to points to some of the content that I'm creating right now. Look, when I came here 2 years ago to visit, I owned a social media marketing company. I was running a company as the CMO with some partners that was doing over $1 million a month. I'm the marketer,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have a 23-man team, right? I'm on social media all day, every day. And dude, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even really know about that there was content creators for like fucking Colombia, Medellin and stuff like that. Like I Googled and I looked read some blogs on like scopolamine and stuff like that. But like I didn't even know some of this stuff existed, right? So even today when I go to make it, I'm like, how could guys not know this? And then I remind myself, hey, 2 years ago, you were on social media all day, every day, and I didn't even know. So yeah, I think it's important that people on both sides, hey, knowing that a foreigner coming in might be a little bit ignorant, right? Maybe try to coach them up, and then on the other side too, that that for some, when I come into a country, like my culture is completely different than somebody else's, man. That they probably don't operate the same way as me. Like if I slam the door, right, that's just so used to like I'm gonna get a dirty look. I should
Mm-hmm.
probably find out why that I got that look pretty quickly instead of just getting mad at someone or saying they're acting out of like why are you so bent out of shape. Like it's really important that we open up and try to learn the other, because chances are when we first come into contact with each other there's going to be a lack of on both sides.
Mm-hmm. If I can add to that, like for example, you're in Medellin. The people of Medellin are an ethnic group called Paisa. However, there's more than one type of Paisa. I have met Paisas from Manizales, and they tell me, those people from Medellin, they're not Paisas. They go, what do you mean? They lost their accent. They're becoming an international city right now because the original term Paisa was an agricultural, a farmer basically, who worked in the coffee region and the coffee fields. But because Medellin is growing so fast, it's becoming very cosmopolitan. It's very becoming international, and so you will have the other paisas talking about them, say, they're losing their accent, they're losing the country charm and stuff like that and things like that, and then when I come into the mix, I'm not even a paisa, I'm bajuno I'm a person of the Cauca Valley, so I have a different swing to my words and everything else. So yeah, that's what happens in Colombia. Different regions, different cultures, different mixes, different variations. And so imagine when you're a foreigner coming in and you think that everybody's from Medellin. Other people get angry, you know,
Yeah, yeah. Well, if
because
someone, what would you want to share? Like, who are the, like, describe like Colombian men? I know we're all over, so let's even just maybe stick to Medellin and some other cities here. Like, what should a foreigner know about that's coming to visit about like Colombian men, like their personalities, temperaments, just things that are important that they should know.
all right, if they're from the northern coast, they're like firecrackers. They at a moment's notice, at a drop of a dime, they blow up really quickly. But their level of anger is not as high as a paisa. Paisas are more reserved. They're known as very refined people, more reserved. The people in Bogota also, but once they reach a certain point and they get angry, they explode. They stay in the high state of anger for a very long time, which is not really, not really good. The people of the far south, near the Ecuadorian border, their Spanish is affected because you have a lot of indigenous tribes. The Spanish is affected by the indigenous tribes. They talk a little bit with a indigenous twang. They're seen as quote unquote dumb by the rest of the Colombians, but they're actually known as the intelligent people. They have university positions. Every time you go to any university, you'll have the people of Pasto holding a position where they're the professor. The people of Bogota are known as the New Yorkers of of Colombia. They think they're better than everybody else. They snubbed their thumb at everybody else because that's the financial capital, super international city. They're very what do you call? I don't like to use the word westernized because I consider myself everything past London Western, right? But they consider themselves very westernized in a way that they mimic London and in New York
Just say
City and
white
everything
people,
else.
man. That's what I call it, white. Because when I say West now, it's like so much like they just act like white people, bro. I mean, that's kind of what it is.
I'm not gonna say, but let's put it this way. You said what I said. The rockers. They listen to electronic music. They don't like their own. They look at Colombian music as traditional Colombian music as beneath them. You have the people of the flatlands. I don't know too much about them, just that they have a funny way of speaking. They're cowboys. And they like to wrestle the cattle, and that's it. And the people of the Amazon, I know a little bit. But one thing I can say is that everybody has cell phones and they have social media, and they all see what's going on in Medellin. So everybody has kind of an idea. Oh, a foreigner, okay. Is he
Yeah,
really here to meet me, or is he really here for something else?
absolutely. So then that leads me to my next question because social media has its image and its take on what a Colombian woman is, and I know that
Hmm.
probably it's going to be different like with the men, but share with everyone that watches this like who Colombian women are and what they would want you to share about them and be known for.
Okay, I believe you did a video with another guy. I forgot his name. He's a Dominican guy, and I remember you were saying that Colombian women, the Colombian society is very conservative. Guys, what you need to understand that outside of Parquilleras, Colombia is a very, very, very conservative country, and I have dated multiple women from different regions of Colombia. They're even in the northern coast because the northern coast is considered not as formal, and they're very conservative in their ways. If you really want a traditional woman for the guys that really look for that, bro, you're not getting a kiss in about 3 months, and it's going to be like at least 8 months before you even get a chance to have any type of intimacy with them and stuff like that. Colombia is a very conservative country. Please don't look at what you see online on Facebook and these sensationalisms. Oh, the scopolamine queen. Most of Colombia is not like that. They're very conservative, extremely conservative. Like if you go to Bogota, Cundinamarca, in the northern east, they say thy mercy. How can I help you, thy mercy? Oh, okay, thy mercy. And it's they're not like that. It's not like that. It's like saying Thailand, right? You would think that everything is like that one place in Bangkok. Most of Thailand is extremely Buddhist and conservative. Most of Colombia is very Catholic or in conservative, or even other forms of Christianity. My ex-girlfriend was of 5 years. She was Pentecostal. I was super Catholic, and her family, they wouldn't allow certain things. They wouldn't allow, and she dresses super sexy, by the way, but they don't allow certain things like me clinging onto her or talking to her a certain way or even filming her a certain way on like that. It's not like that. That's not how women are. And the women that do allow that type of behavior is because those are the women who want something from you, some type of
Yeah.
transaction.
Yeah, look, and I could speak on it. So the first woman that I dated here in Medellin was a paisa, right? When
Hmm.
when we first started dating, she would come to my apartment. She would not leave the living room. She didn't even let me show her my bedroom. Like, hey, do you want to just see what
Yeah.
it looks like? Like, no. Like, she would stay there. And then that first night, I took her on a date. She's like, what are we gonna do? Hey, we're gonna go to dinner,
Hmm.
and then we could watch Netflix. And she's like, okay, we could go to dinner, but we can't watch Netflix yet. Right, like so I
Okay.
have experienced that in Medellin, in Poblado. Like she didn't live in Poblado, she lives outside, but with a paisa, right? So in this very city, there are women that are still very conservative that operate totally foreign to what you are used to. And then that leads me into this question here, right? So for the guys, because there's so many of them, they say they want to date a Colombian woman, and when you describe what you just described, that's the woman that they're looking for. Who do you have to be as a man, right? How do you have to show up to even be able to get the attention of a woman like that?
No, but that's fine. It's actually very easy. Just they're very polite. They're very friendly. You can go up to them and talk to them. Hey, how you doing? And you will eventually find out if they're into you. But who you need to be as the man? You need to be a traditional man yourself. You will be introduced to the family, and I'm sure you have. You will know the grandmother. You will know the grandaunt. You will know the cousin, the third cousin, the fifth cousin. To say, if anybody ever saw that movie, what's it called? My Big Fat Greek Wedding. They're going to introduce you to everybody. When I was with my ex girlfriend in Pereira, listen, I went to her house and I met her son, I met her aunt, I met her cousin, I met her coworkers, and everybody's asking me the 100 questions because they want to know who you are. That's how you know when you meet a good woman, and you will have to be a good provider. When you go out, you pay. None of this 50-50 nonsense. None of this, no, none of this. You are the man, you will be paying. If she says, I'll spot you, that's good. But you will have to act like a man. You have to be a traditional man. Introduce yourself to the parents, get to know them. You have to be shown that yourself want to be a part of the family. And you'll eventually be able to find the right person. And for those who think it's not that hard, many Colombian women are very friendly. They're very open. You can talk to a supermodel. She'll say hi to you and stuff like that. They're very polite, but don't mistake that for them want to be with you. With all my ex-girlfriends, the first thing that I did, I talked to the mom, I talked to the father, I talked to the stepfather, I talked to everybody, introduced myself. And none of this, I'm going to take you on a Tinder date and over my house overnight. You don't do that kind of stuff. You will call up the mother and say, hey, this is my number. If in case you need to reach me, this is my parents' number. In case you need to reach me, yes, Miss Rosalba, I'm going to take her out and I'm going to be back at 7 p.m. Don't worry, Miss Rosalba. If you cannot reach me, you can reach my mother, because they want to know who you are. Because Colombia is a dangerous society, so they can't just let their daughter go out with anybody that they want. You don't know who this type of person is. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's four guys that are watching right now in this very moment. There's four generations of my wife's family in my house right now. I know it might seem like it's just me, but they're all downstairs. My son is here, my wife is here, my wife's parents are here, and my wife's grandparents are here. And they all have been here overnight. And my wife's mom cleans our house. Like we instead of hiring someone outside, she takes care of the house. Her grandma does
Hmm.
our cooking here. Like her
Yeah.
family are around me all the time, right? So if you aren't, and I've shared about this already in content before. Like if you're not with that, like don't bother, because like they're gonna find out soon whether or not that you are, and then even if you lie to them and then you get past it, and once it starts to happen, they'll pick up on it, and they're gonna be out. But here's the other thing that I want to touch on, and you just said it, Ray. Like, guys, we keep talking about just stay the fuck off the dating apps. Ray just said it. The women here in Medellin, especially, are incredibly polite. Even the ones that look like supermodels, you can go
Yeah.
and you can actually talk to them, and they'll talk to you. So you don't have to swipe right anymore. Just go outside the Airbnb, go to the mall, go somewhere in public, right? I mean, don't be just a fucking creep or whatever. But like, if you
Yeah.
find someone, I met my wife. I walked by I was not looking for a woman that day. I just was walking down, and she gave me that look, and I was like, I know what that look is. I'm gonna do a double take. If she looks at me again that way, I know that my eyes weren't lying to me. And I walked by her again, and she gave me the same exact look, and we have been together ever since. Like literally, that's
Yeah,
how
it's
it
that
happened.
simple.
And look, and my wife is English is better now, but dude, I had to pull out the phone, pull out my translation app, and start having a fucking conversation through that. And we're married today. Like I didn't meet her on Tinder, right? Like and fuck, my wife didn't even have a Tinder account. So if you want to find, if you really want what you say you want, like you're gonna have to show up differently than most of the guys are, man. It's just that
Yeah.
simple, and it's
Hmm.
being shared with you here by a local and a guy that's married to a paisa. Like this is what it is. So,
If I can add to that, another easy way to meet people is make friends. When you make friends, the friends will introduce your friends. Hey, I have a party. When you go to party, every time I go to party, my cousin introduced me to like three different girls. Oh, this is my best friend, such as this is my friend. This is this and this, and that's how you start networking and meeting people of quality. Not just somebody just walking down the street. Not like how you met. I'm talking about the people who go to parquilleras and they think, oh, I'm dating. When we know you're not dating.
yeah,
And can I add one more thing? My family was more conservative than most. They're a little more liberal now. When my father went to visit my mom, because he met her somewhere in a different city, but when he went to visit my mom at my grandfather's house, he would take the sofa, tie it in a string, put it up on a ceiling because we had high ceilings. We lived in like an old colonial style house. My grandfather, and he would have him sitting there, but he would sit far away and just to keep an eye on them. When I was in my cousin in Cali, her boyfriend used to come. My family would sit outside, far away from them, but we were sitting, keeping an eye's distance. Those are traditional families. None of this. I met this girl on Tinder. I'm taking her to my house tonight. That doesn't exist. But if you want to meet people, make friends. How do you make friends? Join a basketball team, join a soccer team. They play basketball there now. Baseball, dance classes, and stuff like that. And then they will invite you out. Say, hey guys, you want to come to my house? And that's how you start meeting other people. And you meet organically. You
yeah.
know?
Yep, and it is all around the city. Look, I take dance classes, salsa and bachata. There's a softball field right by my house. I used to play softball, not playing right now. Right? There's so many ways to get integrated into the city here. We just find the reasons not to, guys. So if you're serious, right, and you want to be able to meet a good woman, you're gonna have to put yourself out there. And yes, I like what you said, because hey, like I'm not saying that you need to be my friend, but last night, like my wife, she had her birthday party here, and there was
Hmm.
about like probably 40 people here, and some
Hmm.
of them, a good portion of this family, and then a good portion is all her friends. Right, she got plenty of single ones that if you come here and just act like a normal guy and talk to them, and you know what I mean, you have a way that you can meet people just like that out socially, because people here are very social, man. There's if you walk through the city on a Friday night when people get off work, all these little cafes and everything, people are sitting there hanging out, they're chopping it up. Like there's
Hmm.
so many ways that you could plug yourself in, right? And I
Hmm.
think for some guys you might get a little bit nervous because there's the language barrier. But look, man,
Yeah.
I'm married to a woman that when I first started talking to her, I was using a translation app, and she spoke a little English, I speak a little Spanish, and I tell her once I knew that I was kind of into her, like I'll learn Spanish faster, and then I just show
Hmm.
her that I'm doing it, and it's okay. So like you just got to get off the dating apps, man. Like that, when we talk about getting a label, like if you tell me that you're in Medellin and you are on a dating app, immediately I say that guy is not looking for an actual relationship, which is fine if you're not, but just don't tell me you are, because we keep telling you that that's not the place to find them.
and that's perfectly fine. Like, guys, you have to be understandable. The Colombians are very friendly, and I can guarantee you, when you met your wife's family, they didn't know English, you didn't know Spanish. They still took you in, and they hugged you, and they walked around with you, and they're pointing, food, eat, drink, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. That we will welcome you in if we understand that you're a good person. It's not that hard, you
No,
know.
no. You find ways, even with my wife's grandmother, right? She loves to drink cerveza, right? She don't speak English. When she's hanging out, when she's here with us, anytime I see her not have a beer, I'll ask her, "You want cerveza?" And I'll get her a beer and I'll open it for her. And that is for me a way to build a relationship with her outside of that language barrier, guys. So, because if you want to
Exactly.
do it, you can find ways to do it because I'm doing it, and it's not easy, but it's working and it's happening, man. And like I'm living it every day where I'm a gringo. I'm surrounded by paisas, her whole entire family. None of them speak English. She's learning. Even my son is learning English. Like he does, Spanish is his primary language. And my life is
Mhm.
good and I'm navigating through it. But I've had to make certain sacrifices, accept different things, and be willing to grow in different areas that are required to be in a relationship like this.
And it's not easy, especially for somebody who's coming from a different culture, because when you date somebody in a different, I used to date, when I used to live in the United States, I used to date people of other cultures, and it was very hard because you have to learn how to compromise, and it's very hard. You have to learn how to compromise because there's certain things that you're not used to. And I'm not telling every foreigner to come down, to leave apart, put aside what they who they are. It's just I want them to just be able to help understand, at least understand where we're coming from, why we do certain things, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, you talked about it too with the paisas when they explode. That's something that I had to learn. Look, I be patient, I'm tolerant, and then I got my limit. And my wife is very kind and nice and funny and goofy. And then when she gets fucking pissed off, she goes and she doesn't have like a finish line, right? To where I
I
had
want to
to
say
learn.
something real quick.
Yeah.
I have one of my trolls because I ended up I get into an argument with a guy in your comment section, Ulysses Traveler. He calls me Passport Goofy, but my friend Gabriel, he's half black and half Mexican, and this is where, because we clashed over differences in culture.
Yeah.
Ulysses Traveler, and I'm not going to put him down, but he made a video saying, "Oh, the Colombians are very they don't care about foreigners. If you die or if you get like this," and I was trying to explain to him, we're not like that. It's just that Colombians and Mexicans included, because it's a Latino thing. It's just we have this type of hard, tough love type of deal. Don't touch the dog, little Johnny. Don't touch the dog. You're gonna get bitten, and then you get bitten. I told you not to touch. I told you not to touch it. No, don't cry. Don't cry. They're like that. We're like that. And it's not just a Colombian thing. It's most likely a Latino thing. That's just how we are. And what's happening right now between the tourists and the expats, and what's happening is that you're having these new groups of tourists in, and we're trying to adjust with each other, because we're not understanding each other on a certain level, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I do. That's the whole point of this podcast here, right? And look, I got friends. I call everyone friends now at this point, right? I guess it's been a month.
You're
You know,
Colombian now.
yeah, but on all sides, like I know you list, I know, Capo, I know all of the shit. I've actually had my own incidents with different guys, not Capo or any of them, but like the arguing and the bickering and shit isn't gonna get us anywhere, man. Like we really need to talk,
Nah.
figure things out, and a lot of it comes from just not understanding each other, and then going into the conversation confrontational, right? And that
Hmm.
and that's what the whole point is here. And I even let people know, like, hey, when I meet with Ray, like how we came to know each other and how we're gonna move forward are gonna look two different things because man, like and we talk about it, like like we experience it every day in the United States. Like we have the Democrats and Republicans, and our country
Hmm.
gets absolutely fucking nowhere because they would rather just fight with each other and
Yeah.
create division and be at odds, and everybody suffers as a result, and nobody wins.
Yeah.
So like that's what's going to take place between the locals and the tourists here, unless we decide to do something different. And one of the main thing is we got to start to talk and seek to understand each other because yeah, look. I know what guys say now about Ray. Like Ray doesn't hate foreigners. Ray doesn't hate passport bros. Shit, Ray's not even opposed to prostitution. He's neutral about it, right? He has different beliefs. A lot of different things that we could go and try to label you as. Like you've already made it pretty clear that I'm not that, but this is kind of what I do expect. This is what I do believe. This is what is
Hmm.
important, and people have to start to listen to that stuff, and not just for Ray, but on both sides of the aisle, because that is the only way that we move forward, right? Like, hey, how I could say, like, hey, I understand everything that's going on safety wise throughout the country and whatnot, but if tourism is bringing in billion into the city, I think that they should really put an emphasis on safety and because right that 2 billion is coming from the people that are coming into that city, right? And I think it's important that people hear that, right? And it's not, and hearing someone and saying that they're right or they're well informed isn't always the case either, right? Sometimes hearing someone so that we can properly inform them or redirect them, it is going to be what's at hand. But being closed off is what's is really holding us back, right? I think that's why I started this podcast. That's going to be every single week and get people together. And hey, let's talk. Let's bring up these hot topics. Let's seek to understand one side and the other, right? Let's build bridges instead of blowing up. So then, Ray, look, I appreciate you coming on. I want to finish with this real quick. The guy or the gal, whoever's out there, that's they've been hearing about Colombia and Medellin, and they're thinking about planning, and what they kind of have said, hey, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna visit Colombia. All right,
Mhm.
what would you want to share? What's important that you communicate with that person, in terms of how they move here, what to expect here? Like, what would you want to share with them?
Well, yeah, one of the first things I would like to say, have fun, enjoy yourself, and be polite. That's all you need to do. We're going to welcome you. I don't care who you date. You want to date a Colombian? I don't care. I don't care if you date the dog. Well, I do care if you date the dog because it's kind of weird, but I really don't care. Be polite, ask around. If you don't know something, ask around. Say, hey, is it safe to go over there? Hey, is it safe to go here? Don't. It's not as safe as in the United States, but you can still find safe places. You just have to be self-aware. Talk to people who live here already and who have a good reputation, and you will have fun. The country is very diverse. They're very welcoming. We're not out there to get you, you know and just be yourself, and I can guarantee you will have the best time of your life, and it'll be that easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate you coming on, and being the first one to kick this thing off. I hope that the people that are watching this have learned something, that you take something from this. Go out, whether you're Colombian or you're a tourist. Like, go. You don't need a podcast to start to engage in these conversations, right? Like, go out
Hmm.
and talk to someone, right? I mean, and get engaged and seek to better understand each other, and that is going to be part of the solution. If everyone is so adamant about, and I bring up Medellin because I'm always here, about things
Hmm.
improving here. Well, every person that's here is going to have to take part in being part of that solution, and you don't do it without communicating. So go talk to someone on the other side, not just your passport bro buddies, right? Not just the locals amongst the locals. Go engage on the other side, guys, and let's start to learn about each other, and let's make coming to Colombia the best that it can be for everybody that's involved. So that's all that I got. Ray, you got anything else before we head out?
Yeah, I want people to start traveling to other parts of Colombia, and if you're too afraid to go, there are actual legit tourism agencies that you can speak to in Medellin, and they can prescribe for you other towns that you can go to. There's a lot of scenic towns, a lot of European towns that you can go to, and I just want people to get the a good feel of what Colombia is like. When they start traveling outside. I'm not trying to put Medellin down. Medellin is beautiful. I was just there not recently, but Colombia is more than Medellin. And once you start seeing that, you get a better understanding and feel. I just want people to have fun. I want people to be safe. And I'm not. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate passport bros. I don't hate no one. It's just that if you disrespect my country, I'm going to step up to the plate, and that's just how I am. Uh, that's about it.
Absolutely. 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 Well, thanks for being on. Guys, that's episode one of The Other Side of the Street. I never thought I'd be saying this before, but we'll go ahead, share this with a friend, and subscribe to my channel.
Okay.
Oh, man.